being with me this evening. I will be doing a speech on invasive reptiles in the state of Florida. We've all seen the famous picture of the Burmese python versus the alligator, with both of them ending up losing their lives, unfortunately, due to a problem of invasive species, it's invasive reptile species, in the Everglades and all throughout southern Florida. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the University of Florida Division, in 2015, Florida has become what's known as the hot spot of pet dealerships as well as invasive reptiles. I will go over different types of reptiles, a small number of the 43 different species that they found in this speech. The first species we're going to talk about is snakes. The first snake that was known to come into Florida is the Java file snake. The Java file snake is an aquatic snake that has kind of a rounded head. It's not a poisonous snake. It has been here since the 1970s. It's native to Indonesia, to Australia, East Asia, and the Philippines. So it loves our type of climate that we have here in Florida. It is an unknown establishment, which means that they're not really sure how many of them are in Florida or if they're breeding enough to cause a massive problem, but they still are here in Florida, combating with our other snakes that we have here. They are a threat to different types of fish. They're also a threat to frogs. Now, the fish would probably be a problem. I'm not so sure about the frogs too much. We also have a different type of snake called a blind snake or a Birmini blind snake. It is a ground snake. It was originally brought to Florida in 1979. It is found normally in Australia as well as, not Australia, is in Asia as well as other places. They're not really sure what exact country in Asia the snake comes from. They just know that it did come here with travelers, pet stores from Asia. They were first introduced again in 1979. There's a very small snake, about the size of a quarter, so they don't get very big. They're also known as glass snakes, which are a larger version of the snake. They've been established here in Florida, they believe, for at least 10 to 15 years. So that means that they've been constantly repopulating. They are breeding enough to the point where we've noticed them, and they have been somewhat of a problem. Well, not a problem to any kind of animals. They eat caterpillars, so if you like butterflies, unfortunately, or ants, if you like your ants, you're not going to have a massive quantity of them with these bad boys in your yard. So we also have the different types of pythons, which are the main issues. We have Burmese pythons, India pythons, and we also have the South Africa python. The Burmese python and the India python are the bigger versions of the pythons. They tend to be the big competitors to the alligators. They're also known to go after large mammals. If they get to be in their full size, they can eat people, which could be a huge problem for us. They were introduced originally in the 80s. The South Africa python was actually introduced in the late 50s, which is a little bit earlier in time, but we have a bigger problem with the Burmese than we do anything else. They're native to India, to the lower China, the Malay Peninsula, and some of the islands off the West Indies. So they, again, like tropical climate, just like all the other snakes do. They are a threat, as I said, to every animal. Be it small animal, be it large animal, cows to people, dogs to cats, whatever it is they can eat. We also have common boas here in Florida. A common boa is kind of like a Burmese python, but unfortunately it gets a little bit smaller, and it's your more normal pet store pet that you'd see. I used to walk around the pet store with them hanging around my neck. People would always freak out and say, "Oh my gosh, what is that?" I'd say, "Oh, it's my reptile boa. What do you think?" Then I'd sell a pet, of course. But I always did research as well to make sure that the pet owners that were buying pets for me knew how to care for their pets, knew what to do with them, knew that if they got to be too big, that they could always return them to the pet store or possibly give them to a zoo or something like that that could take care of these. Now, the same thing goes with the North African python. They eat all mammals. They don't get as big as the other two types of pythons, so they tend to stay with little smaller things, but they are known to eat small alligators. We also have different types of lizards and geckos. Anoles, which everybody sees on a daily basis, those little brown lizards that have the fluke that comes out that you see doing all the push-ups, those are anoles. They're not from here. They were brought here, just like most of these invasive reptiles. They were originally found in Cuba and the Bahamas, so of course they loved our climate, like all these other ones do. They do eat other anoles, normally the native anole to Florida, which is a little green one. We also have basilisks that are standard in, or they're found mostly in Broward County, as well as Dade County. So they're not South Florida, but they're still in the tropical climate. They eat small invertebrates and small vertebrates, so they're not really a big problem, but there's something that's not here. Tokay geckos, another one of my favorite lizards. I call them the pitbull of lizard world, because if you get a tokay gecko, more than likely if you try to grab one, it's going to bite you and it won't let go unless you remove it, or I used to say you have to cut its head off. Because they will not let go until they feel that you are no longer a threat, which is a very long time for a gecko. Geckos are very aggressive. Now, they came to us from Southeast Asia in the 1960s through 65 into 66. We're not really sure on the exact time, but we started seeing them. They've completely established themselves in South Florida. So you can pretty much go anywhere in South Florida and find one if you look hard enough. They're a bit different looking than the normal green gecko. They tend to have big yellow eyes. They're bright blue with red spots all over them. So they're pretty exotic. That's one of the reasons that we have so many of them here, is because people like them. They get loose, and then there you go. There you go. They eat arboreal lizards. Anything that's up in the trees, they'll eat. They also go after birds, bird eggs. They've been known to eat corn snakes, which we need corn snakes because they eat mice and other small rodents that can possibly be a problem. We also have a serious problem with my absolute favorite reptile, which is the Nile monitor. Nile monitors were brought here thinking that a Nile monitor would stay to probably about that big. Unfortunately, they get to be over 6 feet long. They're the second largest lizard in the world, Komodo dragons being the first largest. I used to have one as a pet. It's pretty cool. Just to carry him like this in my hand. He'd wrap his tail around me, and that was a small one. He was only about 5 years old. So, you can see. Now, they will eat anything. They don't care what it is, dead or alive. They're like the vultures of the lizard world. Carrion, fish, small dog, a cat, whatever they see they can get to. Maybe a small child. If it looks injured, they'll attack it. Now, they do not attack the way a Komodo dragon does, which would be with them. They just attack, and if you survive their attack, then you're good to go. But we see them in different parks. You can go canoeing pretty much everywhere and see them look kind of like gators. If people only knew what they were doing with these animals when they originally purchased them, then we probably wouldn't have a problem with them being invasive in our lovely state of Florida. So that's pretty much all I want to talk about when it comes to my reptiles. We have, again, these invasive reptiles that are battling it out with our native reptiles, and that can be a big problem. That leads to both species either dying out or possibly losing our native reptiles, like the alligator, which is constantly fighting and fighting and fighting for breeding space and food sources with all of these lovely reptiles. So, if for any reason you guys do decide to get one of these pets, all I ask is that you do your research, make sure you know what you're getting into, what to expect, get the right type of habitat. If for any reason, as I said earlier, you cannot keep these animals, give them back to your pet's community. Someone in the pet community will love to keep one of these animals. So, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Thank you.
You're welcome.